this comes out of the House Oversight Committee, which is led by Congressman Comer, and they had a sit-down interview that they did with Kathy Chung. Now, she was the executive assistant to Vice President Biden, and she was actually in charge of moving the boxes and packing up the boxes, some of which did contain classified records from his time as vice president. We learned from her that these boxes that were found at Penn Biden Center last November, first, were not in a locked closet like the White House previously said. We also learned that it wasn't just documents that were put at the Penn Biden Center, because that didn't open up that office until later. So we learned that they were in an office that was near the White House that was rented out by the vice president after he left office. 2, an office in Chinatown. Eventually, these documents got to the Penn Biden Center. They were actually transported using people's personal vehicles, not by National Archives, not by the Secret Service, not by the FBI. What we know on top of this, though, is that this actually started as early as May of 2022. So the Biden team knew they had a classified documents problem in May, not November, but they kept it from the public, and it looks like they also kept it from law enforcement.
The White House has never been honest with the American people. Remember, we never would have found out about this in March of 2023 if someone hadn't leaked it to the press that Biden was mishandling classified documents. So the White House then came back and said, yeah, that happened in November, December of 2022. She just testified under oath that it happened in May of 2022.
Not only did they know in November that they had classified documents, which made it look like they found them after the raid on Mar-a-Lago, which was September, they knew about it in May. And they still okayed and let the Attorney General okay a raid on the former president's home.
They go into the man's house, they rumble through all the papers that he's got, and what we do is we concentrate on that, but then we downplay and soft play what happened to Joe Biden and his use of the papers or misuse of the papers until Kathy Chung, the executive assistant to him, comes up and says, it didn't happen in December, it happened in May. The papers were all over the place.
We now know definitively the Biden team, including his White House lawyers and private attorneys, knew back in May, so before the September Mar-a-Lago raid, that they had a classified documents problem.
A difference in what, 6-7 months in which they knew? And I'm shocked that they didn't tell us the truth. I can't hardly believe it that they didn't tell us the truth, that these documents were not kept in a one location spot, but were spread all over the place in Washington, D.C. 3 locations, near the White House, an office in Chinatown, eventually the Penn Biden Center. And it takes an investigative committee headed by in the House of Representatives by a Republican chairman, Comer from Kentucky, who then brings in a top assistant to Biden, now with Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, who does what? She tells the truth. She's not going to lie to Congress.
And this is President Biden talking to Scott Pelley, 60 Minutes, in September after the Mar-a-Lago raid. Remember, his team had not announced yet that they had a classified documents problem, but they did know it. We now know they knew it in May. But listen to what President Biden had to say in his criticism of former President Trump.
You saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago. What did you think to yourself, looking at that image?
How that could possibly happen, how anyone could be that irresponsible. And I thought, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods? By that I mean names of people who helped, or et cetera. And it's just totally irresponsible.
First of all, we know he was more irresponsible now. His weren't even in a locked closet, which people could have had a key to. And we know in Mar-a-Lago, they had special locks on it for all the documents to be protected. And it had just happened. He had just left the White House, President Trump. So they had still, going through it. It was quick leave. So figure out what's in these boxes. And they were working with the National Archives. And all of a sudden there was a raid. That was after they said, hey, will you put this extra security in, put these cameras in? None of that was at President Biden's office.